We know that the internet is changing every industry, particularly marketing and branding, but we never quite knew how profoundly. There's a new book out, Absolute Value, by my guests today, Itamar, Simonson, and Emanuel Rosen. Absolute Value, what really influenced customers in the age of nearly perfect information. Itamar and Emanuel, welcome to TechCrunch TV.
Thank you.
So how is the internet changing the marketing and branding industries?
Well, we believe that the change is very profound, and you have to go back to how consumers make decisions. In the past, consumers had to make decisions based on quality proxies if they wanted to assess how good something is. So they were influenced by whatever was presented in front of them. They were influenced by brand names and by country of origin, by price. These are all quality proxies. And let's take brand, for example. So you're thinking of buying a new camera, and you go by brand name. Essentially, you're assuming that the camera that you're interested in buying at the moment is of similar quality as other cameras.
But it's guesswork, you're saying, in the pre-internet age?
It's guesswork, or I'd say it's based on inferences, relying on often inaccurate proxies.
How perfect is information in today's internet age? Because it's one of the things that occurred to me looking at your book, is you assume it's a bit more perfect than perhaps it actually is.
Well, as you see, the title of the book is what really influences customers in the age of nearly perfect information. The word nearly is highlighted because obviously it's not perfect. But what we argue in the book is that in this age, you have much better information that lets you know the absolute value, which is essentially your likely experience with the product.
So the truth about the product?
Truth is a heavy word, but you
Well, we can use it on TechCrunch TV. What's wrong with truth?
No, the thing is, following up on,
well,
on the example,
do have truths, right?
The following up on
some cameras are better than others. Some work more reliably. Right. Some are better value. Those are truths.
Yes. So following up on what Itamar, the example that Itamar said, now instead of relying on the brand of the camera, you read 50 reviews or summary of reviews from experts or from other users, and you have a much better idea of what to expect from that camera, how good or bad it is. I mean,
is marketing about telling the truth? Because after all, in the old age, when no one really knew how good anything was, marketing was, if not about lying, certainly about playing with the truth.
Well, a good marketing, correct marketing was not about lying. But certainly it was about creating proxies and leading people to buy the products that you want to sell. Today, the old marketing tactics of creating an impression that something is perhaps better than it is, those tactics are becoming much less effective because for many products, and not all products, but for many products, consumers have better information sources. If you're looking, just to stay with cameras, if you're looking at a camera that has 400 reviews with 4.5 stars, that's information that's worth much more than any advertising or any brand name. And if you take the same brand name and that camera has only 3 stars, then the brand name really doesn't make much difference.
So what happens to the marketer who unfortunately has that 3-star camera? How do they market a product which is badly reviewed in an age of nearly perfect information?
Well, what they need to do is, first of all, try to learn from the reviews. It's very possible that there is, if reviews indeed reflect the truth about a product, that is the absolute value of product, which we believe they overall do, this is what the market is saying about this camera, which means that that marketer needs to learn from this and improve the camera, find exactly what people don't like or like about this camera, and keep learning from that. And we believe that market research, for example, will move from trying to predict what people will prefer 3 months from now or a year from now, to tracking what people are actually saying on review sites. And when I say review sites, it's just an example. You know, all the content that users are creating, and based on that information, quickly adapt and improve their products.
But isn't marketing also all about the sizzle, all about the sex appeal?
Well,
I think most of us would agree that Apple have wonderful products, but also Apple have wonderful marketing.
Yes, but actually, I think the sizzle is becoming less important. And with respect to your question about 3-star camera, yeah, you better have a better camera. And it's funny you should ask about Apple, because whenever we raise this point, and I presented it at various places, including universities where
You teach at Stanford, right?
Right, and I teach it, and there's nothing more marketing than branding, and that's what we teach our MBAs. And whenever someone wants to kind of provide a counter argument, they say Apple. I think the fact that everyone mentions Apple, which puts you in a good company, I think that's an exception that proves the rule. And I think that if you ask Apple, they'll tell you that if their next product will be badly reviewed, their sales will suffer, despite the fact that this is the first, or the first brand that comes to mind when you think about the power of branding.
You guys know the history of marketing certainly better than I do. Are there classic examples of products that were really bad, that were so brilliantly marketed that we all bought them?
I think that, go ahead.
No,
I think that there are examples of products that were very successful. Some of them sold using infomercials, for example. I'm not sure if these are the kind of products you're talking about, but there are certain persuasion tactics that work, especially for those consumers who do not invest the time or not as fluent or familiar with the information available out there on the internet. They can be influenced, and what we're saying does not affect all consumers in exactly the same way.
How does this change the sales profession? I know that the car industry, for example, is, at least the retail car industry, is in crisis. More and more people are buying their cars online, they're looking at reviews, and we are putting out of business the guys on the car lot, which in my mind at least isn't necessarily a bad thing. Is there still a role for salesmen in this world where we have almost perfect information?
Well, in some categories where you need a lot of handholding throughout the processes, maybe service later, you know, salespeople are probably not going to disappear. But when you can assess the absolute value of a product based on, you know, reviews from experts, you know, sites that really give you the story behind the product and what it means to have it, yes, the role of salespeople will be reduced. we're not saying that they will disappear.
But it is certainly true that nowadays consumers often come to the dealership pretty much knowing what they want to order, which specific model, how much it costs to the dealer, which options they like. Now, salesperson can still reassure them, help with negotiations. So salespeople do have some role. And I assume you're not talking about B2B, where salespeople will continue to have some important functions. But if you talk about cars, for example, it is true that a lot of the persuasion that was happening before is becoming much less important because consumers are well informed. Just as when you go to your doctor, you've already done your research about what you probably have or what you probably don't have.
Finally, guys, we have an audience of entrepreneurs, many of whom have startups, which are essentially products. They have to figure out how to market their products in this age of almost perfect information. What advice would you give to someone with a product that, at least in their mind, is good? I mean, obviously, if it wasn't any good, they wouldn't be doing it.
Well, I think, first of all, it opens a tremendous opportunity for these guys because there are lower barriers to entry in a world where It doesn't depend on brand, but it depends, or less depends on brands and more depends on the absolute value of the product. They need to focus on generating interest in their product and promoting an ongoing flow of authentic content from actual users and from experts who are in their specific field.
Give me an example of someone who's done that really well.
Well, if you look, I mean, one example that we discuss extensively in the book is Asus, which, as you may know, they used to be to sell components to other computer manufacturers. But then Johnny Shi, the CEO of Asus, decided, well, we can go direct as long as we offer good value, which they did. And as you know, today Asus is among the leading suppliers of laptops, of tablets, and other...
So what you're saying is, in this new environment, quality wins.
Yeah, yes. Much more so than before. Obviously, it's not something that changes overnight, but yes, quality is much more important. As Emanuel said, entry barriers are lower, and your ability to expand to other categories, as long as you offer quality, is much greater than it used to be.
Well, it's always nice to have a bit of good news on TechCrunch TV. We're always being told that technology puts people out of work, creates inequality, but now we have some good news. It means that bad products don't sell and good products win out. Itamar Simonson and Emanuel Rosen, the authors of Absolute Value, thank you so much for appearing on TechCrunch TV.
Thank you for having us.